In this life, you will encounter many people. Some will bring light to your path, filling you with calmness and harmony. Others, however, will test you deeply. They are not simply difficult, they are toxic. And when you meet such people, one of the greatest mistakes you can make is to surrender your truth, your dignity, and your strength by saying, "You're right, I'm wrong." Why is this so dangerous? Because toxic individuals thrive on domination. They want control, they want to feed on your energy, and they want to shape your reality in a way that makes them feel superior. When you hand over your voice by declaring they are always right, you are not simply agreeing with them, you are giving them the keys to your self-worth. And once they have those keys, they will use them again and again to keep you small. Let us reflect together. Imagine a river that flows endlessly. The rocks along the river may try to block the current, but the water finds its way around them. It bends, it curves, it reshapes itself, but it never loses its essence. In the same way, you must never lose your essence to please someone who feeds off your submission. Saying "you're right, I'm wrong" when you know it is not true, that is like drying up the river willingly. It is like damming your own soul just to make someone else feel powerful. Now, there is a difference between humility and surrendering to manipulation. Humility means being open to learning, willing to accept when you are mistaken, and having the courage to say, "I was wrong, teach me." This is a strength. But when you say, "You're right, I'm wrong" to a toxic person, you are not practicing humility, you are practicing self-betrayal. And self-betrayal, my friends, is poison to the spirit. Toxic individuals sense weakness, like wolves sense fear. Each time you hand them that phrase, they gain another layer of control. They will remember, this person doubts themselves, this person will silence their truth just to keep me calm. And once they know this, they will never stop pressing, never stop controlling, never stop bending your spirit into submission. So what can you do instead? You must learn the discipline of neutrality. When confronted with their accusations, their endless need to be right, their manipulations, do not fight, but also do not surrender. Instead of "you're right, I'm wrong," try "I hear your perspective." That is not weakness, it is wisdom. You acknowledge their words without giving away your truth. You remain the river, flowing, adjusting, but never drying up. You see, toxic people feed on extremes, either your anger or your submission. If you argue with them endlessly, they absorb your energy like fire feeding on wood. If you surrender completely, they consume your dignity like a shadow consuming light. But when you stand in calm neutrality, unshaken, balanced, rooted like the mountain, you deny them both, you give them nothing to feed on. There is also another danger in saying "you're right, I'm wrong." It slowly reshapes your mind. Each time you say it, even if you know it is false, your subconscious begins to believe it. You start doubting yourself more and more. You lose confidence in your voice, in your decisions, in your worth. And the more you doubt yourself, the more power they gain. This is how a toxic relationship traps the soul, not by one big act, but by many small surrenders of truth. Let me give you a simple image. Imagine carrying a candle in your hand. This candle represents your truth, your light. Each time you say "you're right, I'm wrong," when it is not true, it is as if you lower that candle closer to the wind. The flame flickers, weaker and weaker, and eventually, if you keep lowering it, the flame will go out. Do not allow anyone to extinguish the flame of your truth. Now I want you to understand, protecting your truth does not mean fighting with everyone. It does not mean proving you are right at every turn. Wisdom is not about winning arguments. It is about preserving your peace. Sometimes silence is stronger than words. Sometimes walking away is more powerful than standing and shouting. But in all cases, never hand over your dignity by declaring yourself wrong when your heart knows you are right. Let us also reflect on the inner strength required here to resist the urge to please, To resist the temptation of ending conflict by surrendering falsely takes discipline. Many people think discipline is only about training the body, waking up early, exercising, eating clean, but true discipline is also of the mind and spirit. It is the discipline to stand tall in your truth, even when it would be easier to bow down and agree. Do not mistake this as pride. Pride says, I am always right. Discipline says, I will not betray myself by pretending I am wrong when I am not. There is a deep difference. Pride is the ego shouting loudly. Discipline is the spirit whispering firmly. My dear listeners, every time you refuse to hand over that phrase to a toxic person, you grow stronger inside, you reclaim your energy, you reinforce the belief that your voice matters, your perspective matters, and your truth is worth protecting. And each time you protect your truth, the flame of your candle grows brighter, and when your candle is bright, it can light the path not only for yourself, but also for those around you who are still trapped in the shadows of toxic influence. So remember this teaching, never say you're right, I'm wrong to someone who thrives on your weakness. Let your words be chosen with awareness. Practice neutrality, stand in your truth, and never betray your own soul for the comfort of another's ego. Protect your flame. Because once it goes out, the journey back to your true self becomes longer and more difficult. Be the river that flows. Be the mountain that stands. Be the candle that burns brightly against the winds of manipulation. And above all, remain loyal, not to the illusions of toxic people, but to the truth within your own heart. I stand before you, not as a guru, not as a master of life's complexities, but as a student of human nature, a witness to the profound waste of energy that occurs when we attempt to reason with the unreasonable. Today, I want to talk about a fundamental truth that many of us, in our earnest desire for harmony, fail to grasp: the futility of justification. When confronted with a toxic individual, our immediate, almost knee-jerk reaction is to defend ourselves. We feel the need to explain, to clarify, to prove our innocence. We say, you're making a big deal out of nothing, hoping that a dose of rational perspective will calm the storm. We say, let me explain what I meant, believing that if they just understood our intentions, the conflict would dissolve. We even say, I'm sorry you feel that way, a phrase that, while appearing empathetic, is a subtle attempt to shift the blame and avoid genuine responsibility. But let us be clear. This is not a negotiation. It is a one-sided game of emotional manipulation, and by engaging, you are already losing. A toxic person doesn't want to understand you. They want to control you. They thrive on the drama, the conflict, the chaos they create. Your carefully constructed arguments, your well-intentioned explanations, your desperate pleas for reason, they are all just fuel for their fire. They will twist your words, misrepresent your intentions, and use your vulnerability against you. The very act of justifying your actions or feelings validates their narrative that you are somehow at fault. You are essentially handing them the script for the next act of their play, a play in which you are perpetually cast as the villain. Think about it. When you say that's not what happened, you are not correcting an error, you are challenging their perception, which they hold as an immutable truth. To them, their reality is the only one that matters. To question it is to launch a direct assault on their ego, and they will retaliate with a vengeance. When you say, I didn't mean to hurt you, you are confessing to a crime they believe you committed, even if your actions were completely benign. They will see it as a sign of weakness, a crack in your armor that they can exploit. They will hold your apology hostage, demanding more and more contrition until you are completely depleted. This is why the most powerful thing you can do is to say nothing, to disengage, to refuse to play the game. When they throw their accusations, when they twist their stories, when they try to pull you into their vortex of negativity, you must stand firm. Your silence is not an admission of guilt, it is a declaration of sovereignty. It says, I will not participate in this. It says, your reality is not my reality. and I am not obligated to defend myself against it. This is not an easy path. It requires immense self-control and a deep sense of self-worth, but it is the only path to true peace. To justify is to lose. To remain silent is to win. One of the deepest traps toxic people set for you is the demand that you take the blame for everything. It does not matter what has happened. It does not matter where the truth lies. They want you to bend, to carry the burden, to say the words that protect their ego and preserve their control. Those words are, "It's my fault." You see, peace is precious. All of us long for it. We desire harmony in our homes, calmness in our relationships, and stability in our workplaces. And because we long for peace, we are often tempted to sacrifice ourselves for it. Many people say it's my fault, not because they believe it, but because they believe it will end the conflict. They believe it will stop the argument, prevent further pain, and buy a few moments of silence. But my dear ones, this is not true peace. This is only the silence before another storm. Why? Because toxic people do not want peace. They want control. Every time you say it's my fault to keep the peace, you are feeding that control. You are telling them, yes, I will carry the blame. I will shrink. I will make myself small so that you can remain comfortable. And once you give them that, they will demand it again and again. Let us pause and reflect. There is a great difference between accountability and false guilt. Accountability is strength. When you are truly responsible for something, when you know in your heart you have caused harm or made a mistake, then saying, "It's my fault," is the act of an honest warrior. It takes courage to admit, to apologize, and to learn. But false guilt, taking responsibility for something you did not do, that is not courage, that is surrender. That is giving away your power for the illusion of peace. Imagine this: a tree grows in the forest. A storm comes and many branches break. Now if the tree says, "It's my fault that the storm came," does that make sense? Of course not. The tree did not create the storm. The storm is simply part of nature. Yet toxic people are like storms that rage inside human form, and they will convince you that their chaos, their anger, their decisions, all of it is your fault. And if you keep repeating, "It's my fault," you start to believe you are responsible for storms you did not create. This is how they control your mind. This is how they weaken your spirit, and this is why you must be mindful with your words. Let me tell you something important. Peace purchased with self-betrayal is not peace, it is quiet slavery. You are exchanging the fire of your spirit for the chains of someone else's comfort, and that comfort is not even real. It is only temporary, until the next storm begins. So what can you do instead? Instead of saying "it's my fault," when you know it is not true, practice the art of boundary. A boundary is not a wall of anger. It is not a weapon. It is simply clarity. You can say, "I understand you are upset. I am willing to discuss this, but I will not take responsibility for something I did not do." These words are firm, calm, and centered. They do not feed the storm, but they also do not betray the truth. Some of you may think, "But Master, is it not better to keep the peace? Is it not wiser to avoid conflict by just taking the blame?" My answer is this: short-term comfort is not worth long-term destruction. A single false "it's my fault" may feel harmless, but repeated over time it becomes a habit. That habit erodes your confidence, your clarity, and your strength. It reshapes your mind to believe that you are always wrong, always to blame, always the problem. And once you carry that belief, you lose the ability to see the truth clearly. You begin to apologize for existing. And that, my dear ones, is the greatest tragedy of all. You must remember, peace is not the absence of conflict. Peace is the presence of truth. When your truth and your boundaries are honored, then true harmony is possible. When truth is denied, there may be silence, but silence without truth is only suppression. And suppressed energy always returns, often louder and more destructive than before. Now, Let us go deeper into the mind of the toxic person. Why do they want you to say, "It's my fault"? Because blame is power. When you carry the blame, they carry the throne. When you make yourself the problem, they become the solution. And this keeps the cycle turning. They thrive on this imbalance because it keeps you uncertain, doubtful, and dependent on them for approval. But what happens when you refuse to play this game? At first, they will resist, they will push harder, raise their voice, attempt to shame you into surrender. But if you remain calm, if you remain firm, if you hold your boundary, something powerful occurs. They lose their grip. They cannot dominate someone who refuses to carry false guilt. They cannot control someone who will not bend into submission. It is not easy. It requires discipline. It requires courage. It requires the willingness to stand in discomfort for the sake of truth. But over time, the discomfort of honesty will always bring greater peace than the comfort of falsehood. Let me share an image with you. Imagine a lake with still water. When you look at it, you see your reflection clearly. But if you throw stones into it constantly, the ripples distort your reflection, and soon you forget what you look like. This is what happens when you keep saying "it's my fault" to a toxic person. Each false word is like a stone thrown into your lake. Over time, the ripples become permanent, and you no longer recognize your true self. To reclaim your reflection, you must stop throwing stones, stop taking on guilt that is not yours to carry. Remember this. Taking responsibility for your life is powerful. Taking responsibility for someone else's chaos is destructive. One strengthens the soul, the other weakens it. Choose wisely which responsibility you accept. So, my dear listeners, engrave this lesson in your heart. Never say "it's my fault" just to keep the peace. It is not peace you are creating, it is illusion. Protect your truth, stand calmly in your boundaries, and let peace be born from honesty, not from self-betrayal. Do not be afraid of conflict when truth is on your side, for conflict born of truth is temporary, but peace built on lies is forever fragile. Be the tree that stands tall in the storm, rooted in truth. Let the winds blow, let the branches bend, but do not carry the guilt for storms you did not create. Stay strong, stay aware, and never forget, peace without truth is only a mask. True peace comes only when your spirit remains loyal to itself. We are taught from a young age that emotions are a bridge to connection, a way to share our inner world with others and with healthy individuals. This is a beautiful truth. But with toxic people, our emotional vulnerability becomes a weapon they wield against us. They see our feelings not as a sacred trust, but as a blueprint for manipulation. When you say, "I feel so hurt," when you say that, you are not seeking empathy, you are offering them the very ammunition they need to inflict more pain. You are showing them the precise location of your wounds, and they will not hesitate to press down on them again and again. Consider the dynamic. A toxic person seeks power and control. What gives them more power than knowing they have the ability to affect you so deeply? When you tell them "you're really getting to me," you are confirming their power, validating their cruel behavior. You are essentially saying, "Yes, your tactics are working. Keep going." This is a profound and dangerous mistake. It turns your genuine pain into a source of entertainment for them, a trophy of their conquest. They do not feel remorse. They feel a perverse sense of satisfaction. The well-intentioned phrases we use, like "I'm trying my best" or "I just want us to get along," are not received as pleas for cooperation. They are interpreted as signs of desperation. A toxic person sees your desire for peace as a weakness to be exploited. They will use your yearning for harmony to escalate the conflict, to demand more concessions, to push your boundaries further and further. They will not meet you halfway. They will not reciprocate your efforts. Instead, they will see your emotional investment as a sunk cost, a leverage they can use to extract more from you. And what of the heartfelt question? "Why are you doing this to me?" This is perhaps the most vulnerable and most futile question of all. We ask it because we genuinely want to understand, to find a logical explanation for their illogical behavior. We believe that if we can just get to the root of their actions, we can find a way to fix the situation. But the truth is, the answer will never be what you expect. They will not give you a moment of clarity or a genuine confession. Instead, they will use your question as an opportunity to deflect, to gaslight, to turn the tables on you. Why are you making such a big deal out of it? They might say, why are you so sensitive? They will use your vulnerability to make you question your own sanity, to make you feel like you are the problem. The only way to protect yourself is to build an emotional shield. This does not mean you become cold or unfeeling. It means you stop sharing your feelings with those who will use them against you. It means you find strength in your own internal world, a strength that does not need external validation or understanding. When a toxic person hurls their insults or attempts to provoke you, you must practice a form of emotional detachment. Their words are not about you. They are a reflection of their own internal chaos. Do not let their chaos become yours. Protect your heart and do not show your wounds to the ones who are determined to inflict more. Boundaries are essential for healthy relationships. They are the invisible lines that protect our physical, emotional, and mental well-being. But with a toxic person, merely stating a boundary is an invitation to a power struggle. You cannot simply say, "You can't talk to me like that," and expect them to respect it. They will see your words as a challenge, an obstacle to be overcome. They will test your resolve, push against your limits, and escalate their behavior until you are forced to either capitulate or take action. When you say, "I'm not going to listen to you anymore," you are giving them a clear target. They will redouble their efforts to be heard, to scream louder, to demand more of your attention. They will use your declared boundary as a reason to attack you further, claiming you are being unfair, unreasonable, or cruel. They will not see it as a legitimate need for self-preservation. They will see it as a personal affront. This is because a toxic person sees the world as a battlefield, and every interaction is a contest for dominance. Your boundary is just the next hill to be taken. The phrases we use to end a conflict, such as "this is the last time" or "I'm done with this conversation," are often met with more aggression, not less. They will hear your words as a threat, a final chance to inflict as much damage as possible before you disengage. They will not respect your need for an end to the discussion. They will see it as an opportunity to get the final word, to leave you with a parting shot that will echo in your mind long after they are gone. A verbal boundary is a beautiful idea, but with a toxic person, it is a statement of intent that must be backed up by immediate, decisive action. And what of the plea? "I need some space from you." This is a phrase we use when we are feeling overwhelmed, when we need a moment to breathe and recenter ourselves. But a toxic person will interpret this as rejection, as a punishment, as a sign that you are abandoning them. They will not give you the space you need. They will become more clingy, more demanding, more intrusive. They will call you repeatedly, send you a barrage of messages, or show up unannounced. They will do everything in their power to violate your boundary, because your need for space is a threat to their control over you. The only way to set a boundary with a toxic person is to do it through your actions, not your words. Instead of saying, "You can't talk to me like that," you simply walk away. Instead of saying, "I'm not going to listen anymore," you hang up the phone. Instead of saying, "I need some space," you physically create it by leaving the room, the house, the relationship. Your actions speak louder than any words ever could. They are a clear, unambiguous signal that you are not participating in their behavior. They are not an invitation for debate or a challenge to be met. They are simply a statement of fact. "This is what I am doing, and this is how I will protect myself." Your silence, your physical disengagement, is the only boundary they will ever understand. These words may sound gentle, they may sound like love, they may even sound like devotion, but in truth, they are chains. They are the slow death of your essence. To promise a toxic person that you will change the core of who you are is to hand over the keys to your spirit, and once those keys are gone, you may wander for years searching for the door back to yourself. Let us reflect on why this phrase is so destructive. Every human being carries a unique rhythm, like the heartbeat of the universe playing through them. Your thoughts, your dreams, your character, your gifts, these are not mistakes, they are not accidents. They are the precise notes of your soul's music. And yet, when you stand before someone toxic, someone who does not celebrate your rhythm but instead wishes to silence it, you may feel the temptation to change. Why? Because toxic people are masters of dissatisfaction. They will tell you that who you are is not enough. They will point out your flaws, magnify your mistakes, criticize your essence, until you begin to believe that you must become someone else to earn their approval. And when you finally whisper, "I'll change who I am for you," they smile, not because they love you, but because they have conquered you. But my dear ones, hear me clearly. Love does not demand you to erase yourself. Respect does not require you to rewrite your soul. A healthy bond will encourage growth. Yes, growth is natural, it is beautiful, but growth is not the same as distortion. A flower grows into its full bloom, but it does not turn into a stone just because someone wishes it. A river widens as it flows, but it does not become fire just because someone demands it. The toxic person, however, will never be satisfied with your essence. If you change one thing, they will demand another. If you bend once, they will push again. And soon you will find that every time you whisper, "I'll change who I am for you," you lose a piece of yourself. Piece by piece, your soul becomes hollow until one day you wake up and no longer recognize the person in the mirror. Imagine a sculptor chipping away at marble. With every strike of the hammer, the stone changes shape. But unlike an artist creating beauty, the toxic person chips away not to reveal your essence, but to erase it. They do not wish to see the sculpture within you. They wish to control it, reshape it, and claim it as their own. And if you allow this, your soul becomes their creation instead of your own. Now, let us ask a powerful question. Why do people make this promise? Why do they say, "I'll change who I am for you"? Often it is because they fear loss. They fear abandonment. They fear conflict. They believe that by changing themselves, they will finally earn the love or approval they crave. But my friends, love that must be earned by erasing yourself is not love. It is dependency, it is control, it is illusion. The truth is this: if someone cannot love you as you are, they will not love you as you pretend to be, because their issue is not your behavior, it is their hunger for control, and no amount of changing yourself will fill that hunger. It is a bottomless well. The more you pour into it, the more it will demand. So, what can we do instead of saying, "I'll change who I am for you"? We can say, "I am willing to grow, but I will not lose myself." Growth means improving habits, learning from mistakes, becoming a better version of your essence. This is beautiful, this is wise. But losing yourself, erasing your truth, dimming your light just to satisfy another, that is destruction. Think of a candle flame. Its light may flicker, it may grow brighter, it may soften, but it is still the same flame. If you blow it out completely to please someone, you are left in darkness, and in darkness you are blind. Do not extinguish your flame for the comfort of another's eyes. There is also another layer here, my dear ones. When you tell a toxic person, "I'll change who I am for you," you are teaching them that your identity is negotiable. You are teaching them that your values, your dreams, your character, all of it can be rewritten at their command. And once they know this, they will never stop rewriting. They will edit your life until it belongs to them, not to you. Let me remind you, your spirit is sacred. The universe did not make a mistake when it crafted your essence. You are not here to be rewritten by others. You are here to embody your truth, to expand it, to share it. Do not give that sacred gift away. Yes, You can compromise in relationships. Yes, you can adjust behaviors to create harmony, but compromise is not the same as surrender. Compromise says, I will meet you halfway while still being myself. Surrender says, I will erase myself so you can feel whole. One is balance, the other is destruction. So the next time someone tries to convince you to change your essence for them, pause, breathe. Ask yourself, am I growing or am I disappearing? If you are growing, keep walking. If you are disappearing, stop. Protect your essence before it fades completely. Remember this. True love celebrates you as you are while inspiring you to become even more of yourself. True respect honors your individuality, not your ability to erase it. And true peace will never demand that you silence your own soul. My dear brothers and sisters, never say I said I'll change who I am for you. Instead, live by these words: I will grow into the fullest version of myself, and those who are meant to walk beside me will honor that growth. Be like the tree that deepens its roots and stretches its branches wide. It grows, yes, but it never becomes something it is not. Be like the river that carves valleys and nourishes fields. It expands, yes, but it never becomes something unnatural. And above all, be like the flame that flickers but never apologizes for its light. Guard your essence, honor your soul, and never let anyone convince you that you must become less of yourself in order to be loved more. We are all, in our hearts, healers. We see someone in pain, and our first instinct is to help, to offer a solution, to make things better. We look at a toxic person and we see not just their behavior, but the underlying brokenness that we believe is the cause. We think, if they would just get some help, they would be okay. We say things like, you should really see a therapist, or you need to work on your anger issues, believing that we are offering a lifeline. But what we are actually doing is setting ourselves up for a profound and painful failure. A toxic person does not want to be fixed. They are not looking for a cure, they are content in their state of chaos. Their behavior, as destructive as it may seem to us, serves a purpose for them. It gives them a sense of control, a perverse form of power. Your well-intentioned advice is not seen as an act of kindness, it is seen as an act of judgment. You are telling them they are flawed, that they are broken, that they need to change, and they will not take this well. They will lash out, they will deny, they will turn the accusation back on you. You're the one who needs a therapist. They will say, you're the one with the problem. When you say, I'm worried about you, you are not expressing care. You are giving them leverage. They will use your concern to manipulate you, to demand more of your time and attention, to create a sense of codependency. They will play the victim, making you feel responsible for their well-being. Even as they continue to hurt you, they will not see your worry as a sign of love. They will see it as a tool to control you. And what of the desperate plea? If you would just change, everything would be better. This is the ultimate expression of our hope and our naivete. We believe that if they would just see the light, if they would just choose a different path, all of our problems would be solved. But they will not change. Not because they can't, but because they don't want to. True change comes from within. It is a choice, and it is a difficult, painful process. And a toxic person has no interest in doing the hard work of self-reflection. They would rather blame you and me and the rest of the world for their unhappiness. Our role is not to be their savior. We are not qualified to fix them, and it is not our responsibility. Our only responsibility is to ourselves. It is to recognize that we cannot change someone who does not want to be changed. It is to accept the painful truth that their behavior is a part of who they are, and that our hope for a different outcome is a fantasy. The only path to freedom is to stop trying to heal the unhealable, to stop trying to fix the unfixable. It is to walk away, to protect ourselves and to focus our energy on our own healing. We can send them light and love from a distance, but we must not allow ourselves to be consumed by their darkness. Forgiveness is one of the greatest acts of liberation a human being can practice. When genuine forgiveness frees the heart from chains, it clears the mind from poison, and it allows the spirit to move forward without bitterness. But when forgiveness is false, when you speak the words, "I forgive you," while your heart still bleeds with pain, those words become heavy shackles instead of keys. Why is this dangerous? Because toxic people understand the weight of forgiveness. They know society praises forgiveness as noble, as spiritual, as righteous, and so they manipulate it. They pressure you into giving forgiveness quickly, even when no true healing has occurred, even when no responsibility has been taken, even when the wounds are still open. They want the words, not the transformation. And so, many gentle souls surrender. They say, "I forgive you," not because their heart is ready, but because they want to end the conflict, avoid guilt, or appear strong. But hear me carefully. Forgiveness without readiness is not strength. It is suppression. It is silence disguised as peace. Let us reflect with an image. Imagine a glass filled with poison. If you pour fresh water into it without first emptying the poison, the water becomes tainted. You may drink it, but it will still harm you. In the same way, false forgiveness pours words of peace over a heart still filled with anger, pain, and resentment. The words sound clean, but the soul is still poisoned. This is why, my dear ones, you must never say, "I forgive you," before your spirit is ready, for true forgiveness cannot be demanded. It must blossom naturally. Just as a flower cannot be forced open without destroying its petals, forgiveness cannot be forced without damaging the heart. Now I must make something clear. I am not telling you to cling to anger. I am not telling you to dwell in bitterness. Holding on to resentment will also poison the soul. But the journey to forgiveness must be honest, not rushed. And toxic people thrive on rushing you. They say, "If you really loved me, you would forgive me." Or, "If you were truly spiritual, you would forgive and forget." Do not be deceived. Love is not measured by how quickly you erase another's wrongs. Spirituality is not measured by how fast you pretend to be healed. Forgiveness is a sacred act, and like all sacred acts, it requires time, depth, and truth. Think of a wound on the body. If you cut your skin, it does not heal instantly. It needs cleansing, protection, and time. If you cover it prematurely and pretend it is healed, infection grows beneath. Similarly, when someone wounds your spirit, it needs care, reflection, and space. If you cover it with false words of forgiveness, the infection of resentment grows unseen, and later it will surface more painfully than before. So what can we do instead of saying, "I forgive you" prematurely? We can speak with honesty. We can say, "I am still hurt. I am still healing. I am not ready to forgive right now, but I am working toward peace." These words may be uncomfortable, but they are true. They do not trap your heart with false promises. They allow space for authentic healing to occur. And remember this, forgiveness does not always mean reconciliation. Forgiveness is something you do for your own soul, not for theirs. You can forgive someone in your heart without inviting them back into your life. You can release the burden of resentment without reopening the door to the one who caused it. A toxic person may push you to say, "I forgive you," because they want access again, but you have the right to forgive silently, privately, and still keep your boundary. Forgiveness is freedom, but freedom must be real. Do not chain yourself by speaking sacred words before your heart is ready. Let us also consider another danger of false forgiveness. It teaches toxic people that their actions have no consequences. When you say, "I forgive you" too quickly, they learn that they can wound you, apologize lightly, and then continue the cycle again. It becomes a pattern: hurt, apologize, forgive, repeat. and each time your forgiveness loses its meaning. True forgiveness requires accountability. It requires that the person acknowledges their wrong, takes responsibility, and shows change. Without accountability, forgiveness becomes permission. And when forgiveness becomes permission, toxicity thrives. So, my dear listeners, learn to distinguish between forgiveness and avoidance. Avoidance says, I don't want to deal with this, so I'll pretend it's okay. Forgiveness says, I have dealt with this, I have processed it, and now I release it. One is weakness, the other is strength. Let me share an image with you. Imagine carrying a heavy stone in your backpack. Each step becomes harder. Your body aches, your spirit tires. Now, true forgiveness is removing the stone and setting it down. False forgiveness is pretending you set it down while still carrying it on your back. To others, it may look as if you are free, but your body knows the weight and eventually the burden will break you. Therefore, protect the sacredness of forgiveness. Do not use it as a mask. Do not speak it just to please. Do not hand it out cheaply to those who have not honored your pain. When you are ready, when your heart has processed the hurt, forgiveness will rise naturally. It will not need forcing. It will feel light, like a bird released into the sky. And if someone tries to pressure you, if they demand forgiveness as proof of love, remember this truth: love cannot be demanded, it must be given freely. Forgiveness cannot be forced, it must be lived genuinely. So never say I forgive you when you do not mean it. Instead, walk the honest path of healing. Protect your heart from false peace. And when true forgiveness comes, it will not only set them free, it will set you free as well. My brothers and sisters, in this journey of life, do not let anyone rush your healing. Honor your wounds. Honor your process. Honor your truths. For in honoring these, you will one day find forgiveness. Not because they demanded it, but because your spirit has grown strong enough to release it. I'm sorry. These are two of the most powerful words in the English language. They are meant to heal, to mend, to bridge a gap. But with a toxic person, they are a poison. Every time you say, I'm sorry, you are taking a step deeper into their web of manipulation. They see your apology not as an act of contrition, but as a confession of guilt. They see it as proof that you are the problem, that you are the one who is responsible for their unhappiness, their anger, their cruelty. Consider the dynamic. A toxic person creates conflict, a situation that is entirely of their making. They yell, they lie, they gaslight, and then, in our desperate desire for peace, for an end to the chaos, we apologize. We say, I'm sorry I upset you, even when we did nothing wrong. We say, I apologize for my part in this, even when there was no part to be had. We are so conditioned to be the peacemaker, to take responsibility, that we will even apologize for their bad behavior, and they will accept it. They will take your apology and hold it over you, a constant reminder of your perceived failure. They will not apologize in return. Not genuinely, at least. If they do say sorry, it will be a shallow, transactional apology that is immediately followed by a "but. I'm sorry, but you shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry, but you're too sensitive." They will never take genuine responsibility for their actions, because to do so would be to admit they are flawed, and a toxic person is incapable of that level of self-reflection. They need to believe they are perfect, and your apology is a constant reinforcement of that belief. The more you apologize, the more they will demand it. The more you take the blame, the more they will pile on. You will find yourself in an unending loop of apology, a spiral of self-blame that erodes your self-worth and leaves you feeling completely drained. You will begin to believe their narrative, to internalize their lies, and to accept their reality as your own. You will forget who you are, what you stand for, and what you deserve. The only way to break this cycle is to stop apologizing. to refuse to take responsibility for a conflict you did not create. When they try to goad you, when they try to make you feel guilty, you must stand firm. You do not need to say anything at all. Your silence is your strength. Your refusal to apologize is a declaration of your innocence. It is a statement that says, I am not responsible for your actions, I am not responsible for your feelings, and I will not take the blame for a conflict you created. This is not an act of defiance, it is an act of self-preservation. It is a recognition that your peace is more valuable than their temporary satisfaction, and it is the only path to true freedom. On the surface, these words may sound like devotion, they may sound like loyalty, even love. But in truth, they are the most dangerous words you can ever give to someone who thrives on control. Because the moment you tell a toxic person, I need you to survive, you are handing them absolute power over your life. Let us reflect on the depths of these words. To say, I need you to survive is to declare that your existence, your strength, your happiness, your peace, all of it depends on them. You are telling them that without their presence, without their approval, without their attention, you cannot live. And once they hear this, they no longer see you as a partner, a friend, or an equal. They see you as a possession. Toxic people crave this. They long for others to depend completely on them, because dependence is control, and control is their food, their fuel, their satisfaction. When you tell them that your survival depends on them, you are no longer a free soul. You are their captive, held not by chains of iron, but by chains of the mind and heart. Now, let us be clear. It is natural to need others in moments of life. We all need connection, community, and love. Human beings are not meant to walk the path alone, but there is a great difference between I value you in my life and I need you to survive. I value you is healthy dependence. It means you honor someone's presence, you cherish their support, you recognize their importance, but you do not erase yourself without them. I need you to survive is unhealthy dependence. It means you have placed your entire existence in their hands, and without them you collapse. This is not connection, this is captivity. Let me share an image with you. Imagine a bird with wings. The bird values the tree where it rests, the branches that give it shade, the air that carries it higher. But if the bird says to the tree, without you I cannot fly, then the bird has forgotten its wings. You, my dear ones, are like that bird. You have wings. You carry strength within you, your survival, your essence, your spirit. It comes from within, not from the toxic person who wishes to own you. Why do people make this mistake? Why do they say, I need you to survive, to someone who harms them? It is often fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of facing the unknown. Fear of stepping into independence after years of dependence. Toxic people know this fear, and they feed it. They whisper, without me, you are nothing. Without me, you cannot live. And if you repeat it enough, you start to believe it. But listen carefully. You existed before them, and you will exist after them. The breath in your lungs, the beat of your heart, the strength of your soul, all of this is yours. It does not belong to them. Never give away the truth that your survival depends on your own spirit, your own discipline, your own connection to life itself. Another danger of saying, I need you to survive, is that it blinds you to reality. When you convince yourself that you cannot live without someone, you tolerate what you should never tolerate. You endure what you should never endure. You accept pain, abuse, and betrayal, because your mind believes survival depends on their presence. And so instead of walking away from poison, you drink it daily, telling yourself it is medicine. This is why many souls remain trapped in toxic relationships, toxic friendships, toxic environments. It is not that they do not see the poison, it is that they believe they will die without it. And so they keep drinking, keep weakening, keep fading, not because the poison is necessary, but because their mind has been convinced of a lie. So, what must you do instead? You must reawaken the truth of your independence. You must remind yourself daily, I am whole, I am complete, I am enough, I do not need another to survive. I may want connection, I may value love, I may cherish companionship, but my survival depends on me. This is the discipline of self-reliance. It does not mean you reject others. It does not mean you isolate yourself. It means you root your survival in your own essence, not in the shifting sands of someone else's approval. Think of a tree in the forest. Its roots dig deep into the earth. The rain nourishes it. The sun gives it light. The wind shapes it. But the tree survives because of its roots. If you cut away the rain, it may struggle. If the sun hides, it may weaken. But as long as its roots are strong, it will survive and regrow. You are the same. Relationships may nourish you, companions may strengthen you, but your survival depends on your roots, your inner truth, your self-respect, your discipline. Now, when a toxic person hears you say, I need you to survive, they may appear kind for a moment. They may act like they are your savior, your protector, but inside they are smiling, because they know they now control your wings. They know you will not leave. They know you will tolerate anything to keep them close. This is their power, and this is why you must never give those words to them. Instead, give yourself different words. Say, I choose to have people in my life, but I do not need them to survive. Say, I walk with others, but I do not depend on them for my existence. Say, my survival is mine, my strength is mine, my soul is mine. These affirmations protect you from captivity. And if you fear loneliness, remember this: being alone with yourself is not death. It is discovery. It is in solitude that you meet your own strength, your own creativity, your own spirit. Many fear being alone because they do not know themselves. But once you discover your essence, solitude becomes a companion, not an enemy. So, my dear brothers and sisters, never tell a toxic person, I need you to survive, because you do not. You are stronger than you think. You are freer than you realize. And you are complete even without them. Walk with people, yes. Share love, yes. Cherish connection, yes. But never surrender your survival that belongs to you and only you. Be the bird who remembers its wings. Be the tree who trusts its roots. Be the river who flows with its own current. And above all, be the soul who knows survival does not come from others, it comes from within.